My personal connection to Maine runs deep. As a University of Maine Orono alum, I've spent countless hours traveling across the state, through its southern towns, northern reaches, and the pristine lakes regions that seem untouched by time. Those drives revealed the character of Maine: rugged, traditional, hardworking, and fiercely proud. But Maine is also one of the oldest states in America, with a median age of about 45 years old, well above the national average of 39. That aging population shapes the culture. Youth sports don't command the same emphasis here as they do in younger, more densely populated states, and the resources to develop athletes into Division I or professional players are limited. When it comes to sheer numbers, Maine is working at a massive disadvantage. With a population of just over 1.3 million, it ranks among the smallest states in the country. By contrast, California, nearly 40 million residents, and Texas, 30 million, churn out dozens of NBA prospects every decade. Maine has produced only a handful of NBA players in its entire history, and none remotely on the level of number one overall pick worthy. For basketball in Maine, the pipeline has always been closer to non-existent than narrow. And yet, out of this improbable backdrop emerged Cooper Flagg, a boy from Newport, Maine, who ascended to become the number one overall pick in the NBA draft, a generational talent for one of the least likely basketball settings in America. Newport, a town of fewer than 4,000 residents, epitomizes small-town New England. Its schools are modest, its gyms small, and its exposure to elite-level competition virtually non-existent. For young athletes here, the spotlight rarely shines. There are no major AAU programs, no nationally recognized tournaments, and few scouts willing to trek this far north. For basketball specifically, the odds are even steeper. Most gyms are little more than high school courts, and opportunities to face elite competition require traveling hours out of state. In a town like Newport, the idea of producing the top basketball prospect in the country would have once sounded more like Stephen King's fiction than reality. Part of why Cooper's rise is so extraordinary lies in the state's long-standing sports identity, one dominated not by basketball, but by hockey. The University of Maine men's hockey program rose to national prominence in the 1990s, defining the state's athletic culture for a generation. In 1993, led by legendary coach Sean Walsh and future NHL Hall of Famer Paul Kariya, the Black Bears went 42-1-2, one of the most dominant seasons in NCAA history, capturing their first national championship. They added another national title in 1999, and between 1988 and 2004, Maine reached the Frozen Four 11 times in 17 seasons. That golden era cemented hockey as Maine's sport of choice. Kids laced up skates instead of sneakers. Families poured resources into ice time and equipment, and the state's collective pride revolved around Alfond Arena. Basketball, by contrast, remained on the fringes. The numbers illustrate that contrast starkly. Maine has produced dozens of NHL players, including stars like Kariya, while only 4 players from Maine have ever reached the NBA. None of them became household names, until Cooper Flagg. Cooper's improbable journey cannot be told without his mother, Kelly Bowman Flagg. A standout at Nokomis Regional High School, Kelly scored over 1,200 career points before starring at the University of Maine. There, she became team captain, won 3 America East titles, and helped lead the Black Bears to their historic 1999 upset over Stanford in the NCAA tournament, the program's first tournament win. Her impact on Maine basketball earned her induction into the Maine Sports Hall of Fame. Kelly's own experience gave her a roadmap for her son. She knew the limits of being a Maine basketball player and worked to break them for Cooper and his twin brother, Ace. She often brought him to UMaine Orono's campus while he was still in middle school, arranging for him to train with college players and coaches. For a kid from Newport, stepping into that environment gave him an invaluable glimpse of higher level basketball, It instilled the discipline and confidence to believe he could belong on bigger stages. Kelly was more than a parent. She was Cooper's first coach, mentor, and advocate. Her influence was the bridge between a small-town dream and a national reality. By the time Cooper entered high school, his dominance was undeniable. As a freshman at Nokomis, he averaged 20.5 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and nearly 4 blocks per game, leading the school to its first ever state championship. He became the first freshman ever named Maine's Gatorade Player of the Year. But to fulfill this potential, he had to leave Maine. After his freshman year, he transferred to Montverde Academy in Florida, one of the most prestigious basketball prep programs in the country. There, against elite competition, he sharpened his skills and solidified himself as the #1 recruit in the nation. At Duke University, his freshman season erased all doubt. He was more than just talented. He was truly generational. Cooper Flagg's rise is not only a personal triumph, it could fundamentally shift the culture of Maine athletics. For the first time, Maine kids see proof that NBA dreams are possible from their state. He showed that even a town of 4,000 can produce the world's best. Cooper's success could inspire greater investment in basketball programs, gyms, camps, and coaching, giving young athletes resources that were absent in his own upbringing. Hockey will always hold a central place in Maine's identity, but Cooper may elevate basketball to a new level of recognition, creating balance where once there was none. If he chooses to give back, through youth camps, mentorship, or scholarships, he could transform Maine basketball from a statistical anomaly into a sustainable pipeline for future talent. The improbable rise of Cooper Flagg from Newport, Maine, to the #1 overall pick in the NBA draft is one of the greatest sports stories of modern times. He comes from a state of just 1.3 million people, one of the smallest and oldest populations in the country. A state defined by hockey glory, where Paul Kariya and the UMaine Black Bears once ruled the national stage. Basketball had no tradition, no infrastructure, and no stars. Yet, out of this unlikely soil grew a generational talent. Guided by the legacy and mentorship of his mother, Kelly Flagg, and driven by his own relentless talent and work ethic, Cooper overcame every structural and cultural barrier. His story proves that greatness can come from anywhere, even from the quiet gyms of a small town in central Maine. And perhaps most importantly, his success may change Maine itself. For the first time, kids across the state can look up and see basketball not as a pipe dream, but as a path. A path carved not in spite of Maine's identity, but because one player had the vision and will to show that the impossible was in fact possible.